starting a business with scalability and capacity for thousands of people. So because of this, they had that invite-only system that I mentioned before, where they would slowly let people in on the waiting list. Cassidy mentions that they continued this slow trickle of accepting invites to make sure that people felt like the line was moving, but they really didn't have the capacity to have too much traffic on the website. So at this time, Cassidy was busy writing code and putting together the sites. Jessica was adding all of the patterns in by herself, by hand. She was typing them in from magazines that she received. I would assume that she got permission from the designers to do this, and or these were free patterns that she was just helping to translate onto another platform. This would obviously be great exposure for a designer at any level, getting your pattern onto a site with thousands of people who wanted to knit and buy your pattern. But yeah, I don't have any other specifics about exactly how that worked. The important thing is that she was adding in all of the patterns herself. But eventually, Ravelry added a feature that was inspired by the user-generated nature of Wikipedia, where users themselves could contribute to your database, which I think works much better. This comes up again and again, but so many aspects of this website were made possible due to crowdsourcing and community efforts. Around this time as well, they also had the help of librarians, like professional librarians, offering their expertise in how to organize the database. Additionally, as the community grew, Jessica and Cassidy realized that they needed to implement community guidelines to protect the space that they had created. They compare Ravelry to their living room and say that they did not want to tolerate any behavior that they would not tolerate in their own home, and this is something that will come up later as well. A lot of these guidelines were developed over time as things came up, and they were alerted by various volunteer moderators in forums.
So we had to kind of make more rules as time went on.
Over time, Jessica realized that the size of the database was making it increasingly more difficult to find patterns on the site. You could look up knit cardigan and then just be met with a wall of options with no way to narrow down the search. But at this point, in 2010, the site had over 100,000 patterns, 166,000 plus to be slightly more exact. They wanted to optimize the search engine, but there would be no way for them to do this with the small team that they had at the time. So naturally, they reached out to the community with a fun idea, a Ravelry search party. So Ravelry had prize donations from 17 different yarn brands with a retail value of over $5,000. The way the search party worked was as follows. For every pattern you reclassified, which was basically adding tags to describe what the pattern was, things like construction of the garment, techniques used, fit, size, etc., you would be entered into a raffle to win one of the 17 prizes. So let's take a look at some of the prizes. One of these prizes was 12 skeins of hand-dyed yarn from Sweet Georgia Yarns. I wanted to see what the monetary value of this prize was, and there was only one snapshot of their website in the Wayback Machine from 2010, and there was no yarn price information on there. But in 2011, a skein was going for 24 Canadian dollars, or according to the conversion rate from June 13th, 2011, which is the day that I found the price on the website, $24.58 US dollars. Another prize was from Weeks New Knit that included a $200 gift card, t-shirt, pattern, 6 skeins of Malabrigo silky merino, a mug, and wool wash. This whole search party took about 10 days, and in the process, according to Cassidy, they tripled the amount of information in the search. So in this same interview on the Fruity Knitting podcast, Andrea asks the couple what Ravelry does to stay relevant these days, to keep up with the fast pace of the internet. Jessica and Cassidy said that they weren't interested in turning Ravelry into a site like Instagram or Facebook and streamlining the interface, but that they want to focus more on preserving and improving the features that the website already has. So I want to pause the timeline briefly to answer a few questions that you might have, and the outfit I'm wearing has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm about to talk about. I just wanted to wear something fun, so we're back at the board. We're going to answer a few questions that start with, how does Ravelry? So the first question is, how does Ravelry make money? That says make money. I'm so glad you asked. According to the interview on the Fruity Knitting podcast, Ravelry began with a dream and a personal credit card. The couple had no sort of external funding, and they had no plans to actually start a business, so they just put all of their business expenses on their own credit cards. For their first funding venture, they sold 1,000 t-shirts to cover some of the operating costs of starting up the site, and then the next funding venture was in the form of our very first Ravelry
still asleep.
First one was offering pay-per-click advertising to yarn and fiber companies. Cassidy said it was their goal to have a lot of smaller advertisers as opposed to several larger ones. Mary Heather, the Ravelry VP of Operations, approved these advertisements and makes sure they look nice. In 2012, they had 1,500 active advertisers, mostly comprising of Ravelry members who owned small businesses. About 50% of these users spent less than $15 on their advertising costs on the site. $15 per month. Ravelry also used to sell merch. They would work with Ravelry users who were designers and artists, and then work with other users who were screen printers and make and design merch. They worked with a small fulfillment company and warehouse that was based in Massachusetts, and I'm not really sure how much money they made off of this. They have a few items listed on the website right now, but they're all marked as sold out or out of stock. So I'm not sure how long they've been like that, or if they plan on ever releasing merch again, or if that's just kind of like a dead page on the website. But they did used to sell merch. Not sure how profitable it was. Another way they would make money was with something called extras. In 2012, Ravelry added this feature where people could upload images directly from their computer onto the knitting forums. I think otherwise they had to upload their pictures through Flickr first and then link it. This feature was called Ravelry Extra and cost $5 a year. Their goal was just to limit the number of people using this feature and to recoup some of the storage and bandwidth costs. This feature is still available on the site today. And the last and presumably the largest way they make money is by taking a cut of pattern sales. Their fee is considerably lower than some of the other pattern selling
This
sites.
much time.
They charge 3.5%.
About 8 minutes. It's not volume halved it.
$30 in a month. This is still their current system with the same thresholds, and it seems to work pretty well for smaller designers. However, according to the inflation calculator on officialdata.org, $30 in 2007, when Ravelry launched, is equal to $44.42 in 2023. I don't know, maybe they'll eventually change the threshold for sales. This is a little bit of a nitpick, but just thought I would add that in. Anyway, basically the transaction fee is 3.5% for anyone making between $30 and $1,500. If you go above $1,500, it is a reduced fee. I don't know how much it is reduced by or what it is reduced to, but that is what they say. So then if you do make less than that $30 a month, you just have to pay the PayPal processing fee, which is 2.5% plus 50%.
Thank you.
And just to put some numbers on all of this, a 2021 article from The New Yorker reveals that pattern sales on the site reached $28 million in 2020, and Ravelry took 2% of that amount, which is $560,000. Despite this fact, Jessica and Cassidy still refuse to call Ravelry an e-commerce platform, instead describing it as an online community for fiber enthusiasts. Rather than use an ad service like Google that would serve targeted ads based on demographic data, Ravelry selects ads exclusively for fiber-related products and events. The founders have no public relations or marketing firm, and customer support is still provided by employees. Cassidy has written nearly 30,000 public forum posts on Ravelry, most of them in response to user concerns. In
Just gotta
addition,
deal with
6
that.
super active Ravelry users serve as volunteer moderators, making sure that nothing on the main boards infringes on community guidelines. And as an offshoot of this Ravelry question, how do people make money on Ravelry? I don't know what they call it.
What do you want me to do? Draw in silence? Like a fucking sociopath? Is that what you want me to do? Because I'm not going to do it.
In 2019, Ravelry released a spreadsheet of pattern sales data for the 10,059 independent designers in January 2019 who sold at least one pattern on Ravelry. This spreadsheet included monthly sales in $50 increments and how many sellers were in each monthly sales tier. For example, there were 7,277 sellers in the 1 cent to $49.99 tier, the lowest, and 93 sellers in the $3,000 tier, which was the highest. So 72.3% of the sellers on Ravelry sold less than $50 of patterns in the month of January 2019. The top 10% of sellers includes 964 designers, and any designer that makes more than $200 in a month qualifies for that top 10%. And the question, how does Ravelry run? We're about to get a little technical, and I'm going to say some words that I don't fully
God, I really don't want him to wake up.
including Jessica and Cassidy, who are the founders. The employees are Jessica, who is listed as the founder and Mama Rav, Cassidy, who is listed as the founder and coder, Mary Heather, the VP of Operations and do-gooder, and Sarah, the community support specialist and hostess with the mostest. There used to be 5 members, but one of their team members passed away in 2021 from cancer. She was working as a part-time developer at the time, and after her death, they did not hire anyone to replace her. So now that we have briefly gotten to know Ravelry as a company, we are finally on to the first controversy. So before we get into the big controversy of today's video that had a bit of a wider reaching impact, I want to touch on 2 smaller controversies. The first is the bunker incident, and the second is the Olympics thing. So let's start with the Nazi bunker.
Wow,
So
this
around
took a
2008,
sharp
Ravelry
left
had
turn.
2 major groups of
Let me
conservative
turn this up.
leaders. So they had what the newspaper referred to as the more center-right group, called Conservative Knitters, and then the hard-right group, called McCain Ravelry. After John McCain lost his presidential bid, the group apparently received a lot of hate and started making jokes about needing a safe space.
It's the bunker, which is always a fun thing to say. No, but
Did you know that they said that was a Nazi thing?
One of the comments that eventually led to the shutdown of the bunker, this alleged safe space, was that one member likened the burgundy scarf worn by Obama at the inauguration to a noose. Later that year, one of the group's users wrote a 5,000-word account of the saga on her blog Teapot Tantrums, which was titled Badge of Honor, Too Conservative for Ravelry. In the post, she invited the offending... So I won't read this whole post to you, but if you search the title, you can find it pretty easily. I'm just going to pull out some of the important sections and give you an overview of what really happened with the bunker. So she starts off by saying, "Yesterday I got up with the pups, did that, then went to check with my friends at the bunker. But first I logged onto Ravelry.com, which was commonplace. I check both places daily. But there was a problem when I went to log on at Ravelry. I was redirected to an error page that said simply, Error 403, forbidden. No warning, no nothing. I'm too conservative for Ravelry, but that's okay with me. I'll wear it as a badge of honor. I was getting more and more disillusioned with the cesspool anyway." So apparently Teapot said that they did not fit into the conservative knitters group, saying it had been made clear that I just didn't belong there. She then says, "I guess I wasn't the right brand of conservative for them. You see, I'm what I call a triple threat conservative. I'm a political, fiscal, and social conservative. Some people are uncomfortable with that, and I let them be. But they didn't let me be, and they didn't let Ellie Jane be, so she started up her new group and invited me over to play." So when McCain announced Sarah Palin as his chosen VP, the group was very excited, and at this point, it grew to over 600 members. Teapot says, "We also became a convenient target for trolls, those who naturally disagreed with us, but who felt the need to educate and enlighten us. We poor, unfortunate, knuckle-dragging, mouth-breathing McCain supporters, we were often painted with the broad brushes of fascism, Nazism, neoconism, bigotry/racism, classism, and just about any other ism you could name. At some point, Ellie Jane, who's the founder and moderator of the group, went on vacation and put Teapot in charge of moderating. And because Teapot Tantrums was on Pacific time and most of the other members seemed to be from other time zones, she mentions having a hard time keeping up with the trolls. At this point, Teapot makes sure to say that the group did not allow racism, sexism, or what most people with common sense would call hateful, but they were politically incorrect and allowed members to call Barack Obama a socialist, in a derogatory way, and to speculate on the birther conspiracies. As the election cycle came to a close, the McCain group began to attract more and more negative attention and trolls. The moderators of the group reached out to Cassidy and asked for help in hiding the vile and offensive pictures that showed up on some of the Ravatars. That's our next Ravelry-related pun. Basically, the Ravatars are just like the profile picture of a Ravelry user. So apparently they reached out, asked for help, and then Barack Hussein Obama was elected. And Teapot says, "Yep, we lamented, cried, sighed, complained, and shared with our members. The same people who couldn't get over it when Bush won 2 elections now screamed, cajoled, nagged, and berated us to get over it already and embrace Barack Obama. We wouldn't and continued to discuss amongst ourselves our fears, concerns, and suspicions and decided that the group shouldn't be renamed. Well, McCain lost, so the McCain Ravelry didn't fit anymore, now did it? We decided to hunker down and retreat to the safety of the bunker, similar to what the president would do when faced with danger. The McCain Ravelry was renamed The Bunker, and the trolls came out to play. At this point, people started commenting on how calling the group The Bunker was a Nazi reference. Teapot says, apparently these people didn't get out much or read much more than Mother Jones, The Nation, The Rolling Stone, or whatever communist rag is printed in their local towns. They simply didn't get the idea that a bunker is a place of safety. Ellie Jane, the founder of the McCain Ravelry group, also similarly said, small minds went immediately to the Hitler reference, which it wasn't. The presidential bunker is a command center that provides safety from outside forces, much like our group had become for conservatives on Ravelry, who were under attack from Obama supporters all over the rest of Ravelry. That was the meaning behind the name, nothing more. Besides, Hitler's regime resembles Obama's thought process, not ours, so the irony is quite humorous. They speak for themselves here. Quick content warning for the next few minutes. I'm going to briefly reference lynching and SA, so if you'd rather not listen to that, then skip to this timestamp. But the TLDR of what I'm going to say is that people on Ravelry were saying kind of crazy things around this time. So then in the bunker group, there was this comment about a scarf and Obama that I kind of mentioned earlier. So I couldn't find the word for word of what this comment said, since it has been deleted from Ravelry, obviously, but the way people interpreted this comment was that the scarf that Obama wore at the inauguration should be called a noose, and that was a reference to anti-black lynching. Apparently, according to the person who made the comment, that was not their intention. They said that the comment was not about the scarf that Obama was wearing. Obama was not mentioned or even alluded to at all. It was a reference to a thread in one of the Big Six entitled Inaugural Scarves on Inauguration Day. They say, when I saw that title, I mistakenly assumed it was about some sort of knit-along of scarves that people were going to do during the day-long inauguration television fest. That thread was, in fact, comments on some of the pretty scarves that were televised on people in the inauguration. Michelle Obama's mother was one, I think. I didn't open the thread until later to take a look. I didn't open any Big Six threads to read that day because we were all hunkering down, depressed in the bunker to console each other. I didn't watch the inauguration, so I haven't a clue as to what Obama or anyone wore, scarf or no scarf. They say, while talking in the bunker, I made the comment and even prefaced it with the clarification that it was humor, saying something like, on a humorous note, at the beginning. Then I said I unbelievably saw a thread titled in the Big Six that said inaugural scarves. My comment was that we call them nooses plural. The reference, which obviously was lost on some people, was that we were sick enough over his election to hang ourselves. How can plural nooses be constructed as a lynching threat on the president? The comment, which I now sorely regret, you have no idea, has been so twisted that I think our own bunker mates forget that it originally was no reference to Obama or anything he was wearing. I kept my eyes and ears off the inauguration that day, so I neither heard nor saw Obama. And not to comment too much on this, but I do think it's important to say that alleged good intentions do not a good person make, but also I'm not really able to speculate on what this comment was construed as without being able to see the comment and its full context. I know it does seem like I'm highlighting a lot of conservative point of views in this story, but that's just because these were the people that were angry about it, and these were the people that were talking about it and putting out 5,000-word essays. This blog post also mentions that there was a forum called What Would We Do to Sarah Palin, in which members posted physical threats of violence, including but not limited to saying that she should be whipped with a hockey stick. Other liberal groups allegedly also mentioned that President Bush and the VP should be shot, hung, or pushed over cliffs. As we see here, and will continue to see in the following years on Ravelry, they were very vocal about not tolerating hate speech or bigotry. From what I've read, it does appear that there was a double standard that did lean very heavily in favor of the left. If these comments that the articles reference were, as explicit as they mention, then I think a website that makes it a priority to not allow hate speech should probably have taken those comments down as well. This is one of those things where, we're getting into really tricky waters, and I'm not an expert on these things, but because this is a very small company run by pretty much, one or two people making the executive decisions at the top, these kinds of things were not decided by any sort of board or balanced group of individuals in charge of and thinking about the business. A lot of these things were made in support of the founders' own personal political beliefs. And I think this also does get into the paradox of tolerance, where tolerating bigotry is tolerating intolerance. So there's certainly a line to be drawn somewhere. But I bring this all up to give you a sort of idea of the conversations that were happening around the time of this ban and another ban that we'll see later on. So after this comment about Obama and the scarf, the bunker was shut down. Alley Cat and Teapot Tantrums, as well as the other self-titled bunker babes, tried to form other groups, namely Dutch's Reading Room, where they could read some of the great quotes made by Ronald Dutch Reagan, Macho Sauce for fans of Alfonso Rochelle, The Noodle, and Gult's Gulch to discuss readings of Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. These groups were apparently infiltrated by trolls, and fairly soon after, members that had participated in the bunker were suspended and ultimately banned from Ravelry. This lengthy post ends with a good observation that Teapot's husband made. eHarmony.com was forced to accommodate gays and lesbians that wanted to use the matching service. Shouldn't a site like Ravelry.com try to remember the lessons learned there? Yes, it's a free site, which constitutes a sandbox, but if they're going to allow free speech, shouldn't all speech be acceptable, and not just that with which one agrees? And then she ends her post with a warning. Parents, take heed and protect your underage fiber enthusiasts from what they will see on this site without warning. And if you are interested in using Ravelry yourself, be aware that objectionable content can/may/will pop with no warning whatsoever. If you're easily offended, this site is not for you. If you don't mind naked/obscene yarn creations, foul language, celebration of just about everything under the sun, and I mean everything, then you're welcome to. I won't be going back. There are plenty of other places to find crochet patterns and supplies, and I have plenty of bunker babe friends who either dye and spin yarn or who have friends that do, and I'll be fine. Nice and ironically, after writing this post, she received some pushback from trolls, and then she made a follow-up post 5 days later with the stance that it's her blog and she
No, you can't see my baby.
So apparently this one woman was sending her emails and leaving a bunch of comments on Teapot's posts. So Teapot Tantrum says in her updated blog post, "The Constitution gives us the First Amendment, which does indeed give you to the right of free speech. However, that said, it does not give you the right to be heard or the right to be read. Additionally, nowhere in the Constitution does it say that by giving you the right to say what you want, it compels me to put up with a threatening or abusive tone, nor does it abrogate my freedom to determine with whom I choose to communicate or decline said communication. As the owner of this blog, it is my right to determine whether you will be given a place to air
That's
your
weird
views. If you'd
thing
like
to
to take
ask
your
someone.
issues to
You
the
don't
nearest
know.
free speech plaza or
Let me
hate
see your
free zone,
baby.
you are perfectly welcome to do that, and I would invite you to do so." To me, this kind of just sums up Ravelry's reason for shutting down the bunker. Whether they were justified in doing that or not, bunker babes had the right to free speech, but Ravelry did not choose to give them the right to be heard or read on their site. The blog then ends with Teapot linking 11 other blog posts about the bunker. Most of these links are dead at this point, or just really short posts of people saying, "I was suspended, free speech is dead," or something like that, and none of them are as extensive as Teapot's. But to wrap this story up, all of these bans only serves to foreshadow the banning that is to come. Another controversy I found references to quite often in my reading was the Olympic thing. The year was 2012. The Olympics were in London. I was at the Olympics, not as an athlete, but as a child and a spectator. This is
I'm
completely
watching
irrelevant, but I found
a
these
deep
photos I
dive
had
into
to
the
share.
internet's most controversial knitting
And
site,
Ravelry was in
Ravelry
the third year
Part
of something
1.
called the
That's what I'm watching.
Ravelympics, which is our third Ravelry-related pun. The Ravelympics began in 2008, not to be confused with the Knitting Olympics, which take place every 4 years, just like any other Olympic sport, and will be orchestrated by the Yarn Harlot. The idea was for people to cast on or start their project at the Olympic opening ceremonies, like while they're watching it, and then work on that pattern or patterns for the 17 days while the Olympic flame is lit until it goes out. Here are some of the rules of the Ravelympics. The project
That
must be a
sucks. Hope you
challenge
can
for
feel
you to
better.
complete in 17 days. No casting on before opening ceremonies commence in Beijing. This is for the first Ravelympics. You must finish before the flame goes out. You may swatch before the games. I consider this training. Swatching is making a small square using the yarn and hook or needles that you plan on using, and you use that to calculate size and yardage and all sorts of things. So it's something you do to prep before you actually start the project. People who
Thank
finish their
you.
projects on time will receive medals of glory, which I believe are tiny pins. The proceeds from the sales of these medals were then donated to the Special Olympics. So this is the Ravelympics. The first one was in 2008 during the Beijing Olympics. The second one was in 2010 during the Winter Games in Vancouver. And the third one was scheduled for 2012 during the London Olympic Games. However, on June 20th, 2012, Cassidy started a discussion thread on Ravelry called Notice from the United States Olympic Committee. In March 14th, 2011, my colleague Carol Gross corresponded with your attorney Craig Selnack in regard to a pin listed as the 2010 Ravelympics Badge of Glory. At the time, she explained that the use of Ravelympic infringed upon the USOC's, or the US Olympic Committee's, intellectual property rights, and you kindly removed the pin from the website. I was hoping to close our file on this matter, but upon further review of your website, I found that there were content.
Sorry about that, baby.
Unlike the National Olympic Committees of many other countries,
If you want to learn how to
the
draw,
USOC
just
does
draw.
not rely on federal funding to support
Like,
Olympic
it's the
efforts.
thing, it's like, if you want to write, you just gotta
Therefore, in order
write.
to fulfill our responsibilities
Stupid
without the
thing,
need for
but
federal
whenever you get
funding,
at something, you
Congress
just,
granted
you
the
gotta do
USOC
it, and you gotta
exclusive right to
ignore
use and control the commercial use of the word Olympic and
being
any
bad.
simulation or combination thereof in
You
the
know, it
United States,
sucks,
as
but
well
you're
as
not
the
gonna be good
Olympic
at it the
symbol.
first
The
thing you
act
do it.
prohibits the
You just gotta do it if you want to do
unauthorized
it.
use of the Olympic symbol or the mark Olympic for any commercial purpose or for any competition. Thus, Ravelry.com's unauthorized use of
But
the
if
mark
you do
Olympic
draw,
or derivations
you
thereof, such as
should
Ravelympics,
definitely,
may constitute trademark infringement,
you should
unfair
definitely just
competition,
start
and dilution
drawing,
of our famous trademarks.
people.
The
Just
USOC
draw
would like to
anything,
settle this
really.
matter on an amicable
But
basis.
whatever
However,
you
we
want to
must
draw,
request the
practice
following
drawing
actions
that.
be taken. 1.
I said hi.
Changing the name of the event the Ravelympics. The USOC is responsible for preserving the Olympic movement and its ideals within the United States. Part of that responsibility is to ensure that Olympic trademarks, imagery, and terminology are protected and given the appropriate respect. We believe using the name Ravelympics for a competition that involves an Afghan marathon, scarf hockey, and sweater triathlon, among others, tends to denigrate
Well,
the true
sometimes
nature
that's
of the
enough.
Olympic Games. In a sense, it is disrespectful to our country's finest athletes and fails to recognize or appreciate their hard work. The name Ravelympics is clearly derived from the terms Ravelry, the name of your website, and Olympics, making Ravelympics a simulation of the mark Olympic, tending to falsely suggest a connection to the Olympic movement. Their next request is removal of Olympic symbols in patterns, projects, etc. For your convenience, we have listed some of the patterns featuring Olympic trademarks. However, this list should be viewed as illustrative rather than exhaustive. And then they ask for a written reply to this letter no later than June 19th, 2012. Signed, Brett Hirsch, Law Clerk, Office of the General Counsel, United States Olympic Committee. So obviously the people on Ravelry were not super thrilled about this. Some of the responses to Cassidy's post. Here's one from Moo Boo Baby. Let me get this completely clear. They think that people might confuse the Ravelympics with the Olympics and get confused, and that if they did, that would somehow be insulting to athletes? Wow. Just wow. In response to this letter as well, a lot of Ravelry users went to the U.S. Olympic team's Facebook, Twitter pages, and emails and left very angry comments. After this backlash, Patrick Sandusky, the U.S. Olympic Committee Chief Communications Officer, issued kind of an apology for the letter. He said, "Thanks to all of you who have posted, tweeted, emailed, and called regarding the letter sent to the organizers of the Ravelympics. Like you, we are extremely passionate about what we do. The letter sent to the organizers of the Ravelympics was a standard form cease and desist letter that explained why we need to protect our trademarks in legal terms.
Just a
Rest
model I
assured,
found
as
on
an
Pinterest.
organization that has many passionate knitters, we never intended to make this a personal attack on the knitting community or to suggest that knitters are not supportive of Team USA. We apologize for any insult and appreciate your support. We embrace handcrafted American goods, as we currently have the Anin flag makers of New Jersey stitching a custom-made American flag to accompany our team to the Olympic Games in London. To show our support of the Ravelry community, we would welcome any handmade items that you would like to create to travel with and motivate our team at the 2012 Games. As a follow-up to our previous statement on this subject, we would like again to apologize to the members of the Ravelry community. While we stand by our obligation to protect the marks and terms associated with the Olympic and Paralympic movements in the United States, we sincerely regret the use of insensitive terms in relation to the actions of a group that was clearly not intending to denigrate or disrespect the Olympic movement. We hope you'll accept this apology and continue to support the Olympic Games." Many were still unsatisfied with this apology. Here is a comment included in an NPR article. Patrick Sandusky, your apology falls well short of any real acknowledgement of any wrongdoing on your part. Your clerk's language was insulting and inflammatory, and not any part of any cease and desist or form letter I have ever seen. To follow it up saying, while you're knitting, send us some of those things we didn't want you knitting in support of us in the first place, is just adding fuel to the fire. Do yourself a favor the next time you try to protect the Olympic brand and the interest of your sponsors. Do a little bit of research about the efforts you were trying to quash before sending threatening letters. If you had, you'd find out that you just stopped the US members of a massive group of people from watching NBC and all of the sponsors' ads because of your lack of judgment and your poor representation of the Olympic brand. Sincerely, Lisa. Despite this apology and all the back and forth and controversy, the U.S. Olympic Committee proved too great a foe for Ravelry, and they have since renamed the event the Ravelympics Games, which is our 4th Ravelry-related pun. And at this point, all was well until 2014, when the Olympics were held in Sochi, and there were discussions among the public of the anti-LGBTQ policies of the Russian government, and if people should be supporting the games for that reason. This led to the organizers of the Ravelympics Games, which it wasn't Jessica and Cassidy, it was someone else, I'm not sure who. They posted a statement on this, of course. This statement said, "The Ravelympics Games is a worldwide group made up of thousands of diverse competitors who believe different things and hold different opinions. Diversity is wonderful, and we all appreciate it. However, it can also lead to disagreements, sometimes of the less than polite variety, and no one wants that. We're here for fun. In order to minimize disruptions, the decision was made at the beginning of the games that politics, politicking, and political discussions would not be acceptable in this forum. Rainbows with messages, protests, pro and anti-stances, these have their place. However, this forum is not that place. This rule is posted on the front page of the group and in the FAQs, and an overt announcement was made a couple weeks ago. We have had to edit a few posts to remove political messages. We don't want to do this. You don't want us to do this. Please help us out by not posting politics in the first place." And then they posted a second statement a couple hours later, following up and saying, "The no politics rule is intended to make the discussions here welcoming and warm for all comers. It applies only to the content of posts on the Ravelympics forum. This includes finish lines, event threads, team threads that are hosted here, and all other chatter. Team names, ravatars, project names, project notes, and team threads hosted in the groups are not affected by this rule. Political messages are central to the identity of many teams, individual rathletes and projects. Feel free to express those messages fully in those settings. Rathletes, and that is the end of the beef of Ravelry and the U.S. Olympic Committee. Okay, so now we are on to our final controversy of this video. This one necessitates the introduction of 2 new characters, Deplorable Knitter and Anne Pinkava. These 2 people host a podcast called Politically Incorrect Knitters, and they release new episodes every week since June 6th, 2020, and they currently have 164 videos. As far as I can tell, they only release these episodes on YouTube, not on any sort of other platform, and each episode is between 45 minutes and an hour and a half. So Deplorable Knitter posted her first knitting pattern in November of 2018 on Ravelry. In the first episode of the Politically Incorrect Knitters podcast called Who Are We and the Truth About Ravelry, she mentions that she had never intended to become a pattern designer, but that people had been asking for it after she posted pictures of her design. So for this first pattern, she just made one. As a politically incorrect knitter, she says she gets a lot of pushback from people because of the themes of her projects, which are generally pro-life, pro-USA, and pro-Trump. In the About section on her website, she says, "We support our president, our troops, and our God. If any of those things offend you, this is probably not the place for you." In regards to her name, she says, "For myself and a lot of other deplorables, it is a way to highlight the hypocrisy of the Democrats and their followers. We are living in a country where it is acceptable to call approximately half of the nation a basket of deplorables, and if you do not agree with them, you have an issue with white privilege or internalized masculinity. I call nonsense. I may be just one person. I may only be using knitting patterns, but I'm going to speak the truth." So that's something. In addition, based on a quick scroll through her Instagram, she is pro-police, pro-life, a self-proclaimed woman for Trump, pro-Second Amendment. She's anti-mask, anti-vaccine, making a post comparing mandatory vaccines to the Holocaust, and anti-drag queen, and anti-gay agenda. She also, unsurprisingly, has made a number of transphobic jokes / posts on her Instagram over the span of the past few years. Here's one, and here's another one. Honestly, non-binary is like, as far as transphobic jokes go, that's pretty funny. Like, I'll give her that one. And more on this later, but she is a staunch believer that the 2020 election was stolen and that the insurrection on January 6th was a peaceful protest. Let me just take a moment to remind you that once again, we can disagree with deplorable, but let's not go to any of her social media and leave comments and give her feedback on that because that's engagement, clicks, money, all of that. So have your takes in these comments. Don't go to her pages. It's unnecessary, and more importantly, it's unproductive. She's not going to change her mind on any of
I
this.
won't change my mind because I don't have to. Because I'm an American.
She's allowed to have her opinions.
Alright, I did these
and we're allowed
three.
to not engage with them. So her co-host, Anne, is much less active on social media, but no less politically incorrect. She also has made her fair share of Donald Trump patterns. She knit a sweater with Donald Trump's silhouette on it, and when she finished the sweater, she posted a picture on Instagram and wished him a happy birthday. So, Deplorable was posting these patterns on Ravelry